Hello, I'm Mr. Finn, and welcome to Historical Fun Facts with Crazy Hats. Today I'm wearing a muskrat hat, and I'm going to tell you about the end of the war. Now, there's three major events that are going to lead to the end of the war, and these events involve outside forces that we haven't looked at before. Number one is that the United States joins the war, and you don't want to mess with the Americans. They haven't been involved in the war. They've been eating fine. They've got unlimited supplies of money, and they haven't been bled dry. They've got tons of individuals who are just itching to fight. Once they join the war, it's pretty much over for whatever side's against them. And this is going to be the case in World War II as well. One of the major issues was that Germany had announced that they would have unrestricted submarine warfare, which means they would sink anything that was coming towards coming towards France, coming towards Britain. And earlier in the war, the United States said, no, no, you're not going to do that or we're going to get involved. And Germany says, okay, we won't do it. But then they announce all of a sudden, yeah, we're going to do it again. And they sink a United States passenger liner called the Lusitania. In reality, there were passengers on it, but it was also carrying a ton of munitions and a ton of supplies for the war. So in some ways, people would argue it was actually fair game. The United States, of course, takes affront to this and decides, nope, we're going to go after Germany. That combined with one other odd factor. When Germany thought the United States might get involved in the war, they approached Mexico in something called the Zimmerman Telegram. And they sent a telegram to Mexico saying, if you fight the United States and tie them up over in North America there, we'll support you. So could you do that? Mexico, of course, doesn't do that. There is no Mexican-American war that results from World War I. It was a viable possibility because Mexico and the United States had fought wars in the past in which the United States had taken a great deal of territory, like Arizona and New Mexico, for instance, and Texas, away from the Mexicans. So, of course, there was a reason to go after them. The second major fact that's going to lead to the conclusion of World War II is Russia collapses. Hitler would call it in World War II, he called Russia a rotten structure, and once you kick in the door, the whole building will collapse. Well, really, there's so much internal struggle in Russia. They're so poor. They're so backwards. I mean, they still have an emperor who could basically whip peasants. They forced men into war. Their troops were so unprepared that there was usually about one rifle for every 10 men. This freed up German troops to go to the Western Front for a final push. And this leads me to our third point, is Germany does this great push. They try to win, they try to defeat the Allies, and they actually exhaust themselves. They don't have enough men, particularly when the United States is involved. They can't supply their troops anymore. They just don't have enough food, supplies, weapons. The war is unsustainable. Austro-Hungary is not really in a position to continue the war as well. And the Ottoman Empire is kind of like the sick old man of Europe. So at this point, Germany has to give up. So on November 11th, that's Remembrance Day when we celebrate it here, at 11 a.m. in 1918, an armistice was signed. And an armistice is just another word for a ceasefire. That's going to tell both sides, let's stop fighting. It doesn't mean the war is over, but let's stop fighting. And then eventually there's going to be a treaty that will end this war. And we're going to look at that very soon. This has been Fun Facts with Hats.